Hey guys, it's Georgia. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If y'all are new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. For today's video, I'm going to be doing another office-themed squishmallow. This week I made Pam. I used a couple new sewing techniques, embroidery techniques to make it look a little more realistic to an actual squishmallow compared to what I was doing. But yeah, I hope you guys like it, and let's get started. So since this is a squishmallow, I'm bringing back the original Michael Scott front pattern just to trace it onto the new piece of paper so that I can make a new design. For Pam's design, I did go with her having a little pink button-down shirt. I think if I were to make this in the future, I would do a pink cardigan with a white shirt underneath. I also gave her a little bit of a side part since I thought that would look cute on her face. I am going in and cutting all of the pieces I need now, so just making sure I have the right amount for the face, hair, and the shirt. The hair color I didn't really end up liking, so I do end up changing it, but I'm just copying the same process on the back, making sure I have enough for the back of her body and for that little circle base. Then going in after I have smaller pieces to cut the actual shape, making sure that everything is going to fit so that when it's all put together, it's going to look like an actual squishmallow, but also making sure that my design that I planned out will still show through since I don't have an embroidery machine, so I just changed the fabric right then and there. I had this dark brown color from a previous video, I think it was from Dwight's, and I tried to make it work. I thought that at first it was an issue with the hair design, so I tried to change it. I tried thinking of ways to add highlights, but I just did not like this dark brown color regardless of what I did. I did end up using it for her eyes. I know that Jenna Fisher's eyes are more of a green, but I feel like when they're too bright, they look weird, so I thought the brown was a nice way to show that she has lighter eyes, but not make it look creepy and terrifying. After those are set, I'm doing the same process on the other side, just cutting out everything. I did not cut a neck part for the back of this one since in the show Pam does have longer hair, so I figured her hair would cover her back neck and it wouldn't really be present. But like I said, this brown color I just ended up not being able to deal with no matter how hard I tried to make it work. So once I cut out the last little piece of that bottom, I did end up going in with this slightly more blonde hair color. While it's still not a perfect match for Pam's hair, I think it looks a lot better just because the dark really did not suit my idea for Pam or anyone's idea, I think. And I also chose to just sort of draw it out with some fabric marker rather than trace it and cut it freehand, because I thought maybe having that would help. And once I put it on, while you can still see the marker, which I don't like, it does look a lot better and a lot more like Pam. So I am using that same fabric on the back, just copying the same exact backing so I can have her be a blonde. With all those pieces cut, I am just pinning them into place. If you've seen any of my previous squishmallow videos, I hand sew all of the little decorations and the design part, so the hair and face, and then I use a sewing machine to combine the two pieces. But to start with this process, I am just going in with a quick little whip stitch. I luckily have a pink thread that matched the pink fabric really well, so I just used that on the bottom to get the shirt attached to the what would be the face, and then I'm using this light yellow sort of thread to secure the hair into place. I didn't have a brown, but I thought this was going to be a much better decision than a black or white, since it wouldn't be super clear. But since it was not exactly the same and you could still see some of the marker through, I did come up with a way to hide all of that. That also gives it a lot more clear of a line. So what I ended up doing is taking some of this embroidery thread. This is just friendship bracelet thread, embroidery floss, whatever you want to call it. It's just much thicker. You can find it in like the craft section of any store. And I ended up just sort of going underneath all of those little whip stitches that I did to give it some form of a sort of flat base. It helped to differentiate from the blonde hair and her pale skin tone, but it also added more detail than if I just made it a completely different color. After I did that, since you could still see the thread through, I ended up like almost weaving it back through the original embroidery floss. So I'd go all the way around one way, and then I'd go back around almost to make a little twist that would hide the original thread and any impurities. So it looked like one piece of thread, one sewing. So after I did that on the very long section, that would be her bangs in a way, I did end up doing the same process on all sections of her hair. I think in the future, if I were to do this, I would want to find a better way to do it. It wasn't that hard, but it was quite time consuming. And I feel like if I had planned to do something like this, it wouldn't have been as difficult. However, I do think it made a very big difference because it looks like she has different colors in her hair, a little bit of highlight, a little bit of low light. And I think it just overall makes it look much more like a squishmallow. If you've seen an actual squishmallow, one of the people ones, it sort of looks like it's embroidery done on the entire thing. Once I had the hair part done, I did go in and I copied this process with the shirt. For the shirt, it was a little bit different since I wanted to add that line showing that it is a button down and not just scrubs, which it looks like right now. I did one line first, and then I went in and did the other side that would have the little indent, the going down. For that part, I did place the embroidery thread where I wanted to go, and I did a whip stitch around that rather than making whip stitches that I couldn't really see or tell where they were and then going back through. And that way did end up working a lot better. I still threaded it back through itself, but I think that way is how I will continue to do them in the future. When I do another squishmallow, I do have one more lined up, but it just helped make it a lot more clear what each part of it is and helps give it more detail without doing too much more work or more money for my projects. Now that I had those done, I am going in and doing the face before I transfer onto the other part of the project. So I'm just securing the eyeballs, and I'm realizing that this looks way too much like scrubs. So I took these little clay buttons that I have, and I just added 2 small ones to her shirt. I just think they give enough of an idea that it is a button down then instead of just a t-shirt. And then I'm going through the eyes doing a whip stitch. Since the eyes are such a different color as is, I did not feel the need to outline them, so I did just do the whip stitch just to secure them onto the face rather than making them stand out with an outline. Next, I'm doing the eyebrows. For the eyebrows, I am just sort of stitching a straight line, but since I like how the threads looked once I, weaved it together, I did follow that through so it looks like one piece of fabric or one piece of thread. I did copy the same process for the mouth. However, for the mouth, I took a different fabric marker and I drew a smile just to make sure it looked how I wanted it to. I did not realize how much these markers bled, so in the future I would probably use a lot less, but I would prefer a little or yellow tint to something that did not look like a mouth. I am doing the back part next, again just sort of pinning that in place so it doesn't move as I do the quick whip stitch all around. And for this backing, just like I did for the front, I am doing that same embroidery floss technique. Not so much because I think the back needed a huge detail or a lot of definition, but just because I wanted to make sure it all matched so it looks like this is one squishmallow and not just a couple different pieces thrown together. With the front and back done, I am going in and I'm going to start making the squishmallow. So I started with doing all of those little tiny triangles that you see on the flat pieces. Those are used just to make it so it becomes a sphere and not just a flattened circle. So this makes it the actual ball shape in a way. I can then pin the front and back together. I start at the top, making sure that the main structure lines are center so that it looks cohesive, and then going down, again, making sure that the bottoms line up, getting the middle to line up as best as possible, and just going around, making sure I get over all of the fabric. This was a very thick material since it is fleece, so I did end up going over this again off camera one time just to make sure I got everything in, since it is so much harder to move and it is much thicker. Once you have the sock sort of done, I am pinning the base part. That is the most difficult part because there's no real definition as to this goes exactly here, so it's just sort of playing around, hoping it fits, making sure it works as best as possible, and sewing that base on. I made sure to leave about 2 inches on one side. Since I'm sewing with the right sides on the inside, I need that little hole so I can then pull it right side out so it looks how I wanted to and you don't see a bunch of seams and loose threads. Last part is just to stuff it. This is sort of like anyone who's ever been to Build-A-Bear, so I just sort of put as much stuffing as I want in it till it gets the shape I want, the texture I want. I found that the more you put in, the easier it is to get the shape that you want, even if it's a little firmer than you'd like. I personally would prefer it look like a squishmallow than it be as soft as I wanted. But once you finish that part, I just go in and do, I'm not sure what type of stitch this is, but it does end up invisible, so I go through the back one time and then sort of do 2 lines or 2 inserts and then cross over to the other side, pulling them in together as they go, so then you just have the knot on the end that is visible. And with that, she is done. I am really proud of how this one turned out. Like I said, the only issue, or not even issue, but thing that I would change in the future is I kind of wish I had made her have a cardigan rather than the button down, since I think that would be a little more true to her character. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, subscribing if you want to see more stuff like this. All of my other social medias are linked down below as well if you wanted to see more and different stuff from me and all my friends. My Etsy and Mercari are also linked in the description down below if you wanted to buy something that may be in a future video or may have been in a future video. And yeah, there is one more squishmallow I've planned for this specific series, so if you guys want to go in the comments and guess which one that would be, I will see you next time. I hope you guys liked it. Thanks so much. Bye.